Check, check. Hi, welcome to my Compound Life. I'm your host. I'm Jonathan. Great seeing you today. Let's get started. So, I'm just an ordinary UK citizen that loves to talk about Bitcoin and crypto. So, by all means, these aren't financial advice or tax advice. But I'd simply like to share my thoughts every now and then. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about the big tax crackdown coming our way, right? I'll keep it simple, no rush, and we'll cover as much or as little of detail as possible, even what happens if you're stacking Bitcoin and thinking about leaving the UK. That's something you need to be aware of too, right? Because I always thought about, you know what, one day if I've stacked enough Bitcoin, I'll just want to bugger off UK and go somewhere that are more tax friendly, whatever, right? However, there are things that all of us need to be aware of, right? So first of all, let's talk about the tax you need to pay, right? So when you sell Bitcoin or any crypto and make a profit, that's obviously called a gain, right? So the UK taxes that gain with capital gain tax, or we call them CGT in the UK. So here's the good news. Your first £3,000 of profit each year is free, so no tax. After that, if you have a job like any ordinary person, right? You earn under £50,000, you pay approximately 18% on the rest, right? So if you earn over £50,000, you of course pay 24% extra on whatever you earn, right? On your capital gain tax, right? So obviously last year in the 2024 budget, they raised these rates overnight. So from 10% to 18% for the lower earners, and from 20% to 24% for the higher earners, right? So that's not good, right? So no warning, just boom, higher tax for everyone. So that's definitely something to take into consideration, right? And more importantly, now, right now, Rachel Reeves gonna announce the autumn budget very, very soon, right? And it's coming to us on the 27th of November, 2025, I believe, right? So just less than 2 weeks away, right? And people are worried, right? People like yourself, myself, people who invest in Bitcoin or crypto, we are like worried, very, very worried, right? Because the anticipation of what the government can do, one is to raise the tax again. So maybe 20% for the lower earners, like, from 18% to 20%, or 28% or even higher to 30% for higher earners, right? Or secondly, they might just cut the £3,000 free allowance, right? So down from, or maybe, cut it down from £3,000 to £2,000 or £1,000. That's terrible, by the way. Or even to zero, right? So you wouldn't have any more allowances, right? So everything that you earn will result in capital gain tax and so forth, right? So Hmrc, I think the UK government, they need more money, right? And I think, they overspent during COVID. They gave out £77 billion in business loans, and which they're not getting a lot of that back, right? So now they're looking at crypto to essentially help them to fill the hole, right? So that's not good. But anyway, The scary part of 2026 that you and I probably need to be aware of is starting on 1st of January 2026, a new rule called CARF gonna gets kicked in, right? So CARF. Hang on, what the hell does CARF stands for? Let me check again. Let me see. CARF. Let's go to Google. CARF. UK. Crypto Asset Reporting Framework. Apology for that. Forgotten about it. CARF, Crypto Asset Reporting Framework, right? So the whole new CARF gonna get kicked in, and it's gonna be bad, right? So any of the Bitcoin or crypto that you kind of have stacked up somewhere. So you might be a similar situation as me. We have started our Bitcoin and crypto journey a lot more earlier, not in the recent cycle, but maybe this could be our third or fourth or even fifth cycle, Bitcoin cycle, right? So essentially, you might have a lot of digital assets that are stacking up in some of these known exchanges, right? So in January the 1st, 2026, every crypto exchanges in the UK, like Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, that you kind of worked on, or crypto.com, they all must send all your details to Hmrc. So essentially your name, your address, your national insurance number, every single transactions, your buy, sell, swaps, transfer from wallet to wallet. So that's something to be aware of. All of this information will be shared with Hmrc, right? And I think that kind of also brings back to our earlier, a few videos ago, we spoke about UK Bitcoin ETP or ETN that, lives under a wrapper, right? I think to a certain extent, with all of this in mind, a lot more Bitcoin or crypto holder or even Ethereum holders or Bitcoin holders, rather than they want to, continue stack up their digital assets on exchanges and store that away into a hardware wallet. What's going to happen now is they'll just sell everything and put them into a wrapper like a Bitcoin ETP provided by someone like BlackRock, take for instance, right? So as long as it lives within a wrapper like a SIPP, and so forth, essentially, you don't have to be worried about the tax, etc., right? So that's something to bear in mind to start to pivot or transition into such buying, right? So a lot of mess that I think British Bitcoin holders, Ethereum holders, or crypto holders that we're gonna have to face very, very, very soon, right? And of course, there are a lot of people already left the UK because they kind of anticipate this to come out, right? A lot of millionaires. A new report says approximately 16,500 millionaires already left the UK this year, right? That's more than China or Russia alone, right? So many are crypto millionaires, by the way, and they're moving to places like Dubai, zero tax on crypto, Portugal, special low tax rules for new residents, places like Jersey, Guernsey, Isle of Man, all of these British-friendly low-tax places, right? So they're voting with their feet. Why stay and pay 24% when you can pay zero, right? But wait, right? If you're stacking Bitcoin now and thinking, okay, I'll just leave, right? There's a trap, right? It's called the exit tax or deemed disposable, right? So the day you stop being a UK resident, Hmrc says you sold all your Bitcoin today and at today's price, right? So even if you never sold a dime or sold anything or all your Bitcoin, even if you're just holding, right? HMRC gonna assume the day when you leave, that's the day you disposable all of your digital assets, right? So this, I personally think this would be a nightmare to count, right? So how are HMRC gonna, start to monitor your wallet, the number of your wallet, because you might be a degen, right, where you kind of have Bitcoin stash up at different, uh, decentralized finance or whatever, right? So not good. So if you didn't sell, even if you're just holding, you have to pay capital gain tax on unrealized profits, right? I kind of felt it's a little bit unfair, right? So these are profits you haven't even made yet, and you have to pay capital gain tax if you do decide, that you want to leave the UK. So there will be an exit tax or deemed disposal tax coming our way, right? So leave right now if you want to, if you can, or if you have to, just leave right now, right? So take for instance, you bought Bitcoin at £10,000. Lucky you, right? I think that was just a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Bitcoin it actually hit the all-time low at £13,000, right? So whomever actually made that purchase, congratulations, you're a winner, right? So as Bitcoin now is about 90 something thousand pounds, yeah. So let's look at some example. If you bought Bitcoin for £10,000, now it's worth, let's say, a couple of months later, you might want to leave. And then Bitcoin somehow dropped from £96,000 right now to about £80,000, right? So you want to leave the UK, Bitcoin was around £80,000. HMRC might come to you and say, you made £70,000 profit. Pay us $12,600 to 16,800 pound in tax right now before you can even fly off, right? And guess what, right? The new budget might add a real 20% exit tax on top, right? So that's something to look forward to, for all of us. So with all of this in mind, what you should really do, what you should really plan out, we need to start to track everything, right? Especially where are you hosting or where are you holding all of your Bitcoin, Ethereum, crypto assets through centralized or non-centralized exchanges. Of course, we need to start to think about declaring all our gains, especially when the digital asset framework that comes out. The best thing is to involve your accountant. I do mine through my accountant, so that's the best thing to do. And of course, get your accountant to help, right? And start to do or start to look into crypto tax consultation, right? Especially if your gain it's humongous, right? If you want to leave the UK, very likely you're gonna have to talk to a tax expert first, right? on how best to dispose of your Bitcoin or your crypto, and really time it right? Like, do you sell before you leave? I don't know what's the best way to do it. Or don't get hit with a surprise bill when when you're about to leave or when you actually left, right? So bottom line, taxes are going up. Tracking starts in 1st of January 2026. The government, the UK government, is desperate for cash, and that's not good. But of course, we hold Bitcoin, we hold crypto. That's something for our freedom, right? And we simply just have to work out the tax that goes around it. But at the same time, giving you some expectation of what to expect, especially after the 26th of November. Is it 27th of November? Rachel Reeves will be announcing, new tax requirement. So that's something for us to plan ahead. And of course, just stay strong and keep on stacking Bitcoin, because with all of this tax in mind, I think Bitcoin as a very, very hard asset, it will still outperform despite even the most harsh of tax increase. Knowing that Bitcoin would still have a CAGR, compound annual growth rate of, for now, I think it's about 50% per annum. So definitely it's still a very, very hard asset that will outperform any other asset class, right? So bear that in mind. Keep safe, keep on stacking, and that's it, right? So yes, thanks for watching. If you like my content, please hit the like, hit subscribe. I'll be creating more of such content moving forward. And thanks for watching my Compound Live. My name is Jonathan, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.